Hello, and welcome to the very first Stampin' On Stuff New to Stamping video. I've created this series to help brand new stampers and beginning paper crafters learn some of the basics. This will make it much easier to follow along with my other video tutorials so you can create your own fun projects at home. Today I'm going to be introducing you to the paper trimmer first. I'll also be showing you the bone folder, and we'll be making some standard A2 size cards with some craft cardstock. So first we're going to talk about the paper trimmer. I love Stampin' Up's paper trimmer, great quality, and it has some awesome features. Some of those include the fact that it is over 6 inches wide without this arm open. So without even having to open this arm, I can cut most of my standard card sizes. So that's kind of nice, and if I need something longer or a bigger cut, I just extend the arm, just as I showed. You pull this out, and then it goes to over 14 inches, about just over 14 and a half. Much larger than most people would need, since most standard card making and scrapbooking sizes don't go above 12 inches, so that's a nice large size. Another great feature is how the cutting track here is replaceable. Just this little piece that comes out. Hard to see the detail on the video, but there's just a little groove in here, and this is where your cutting and scoring blades kind of slide along inside, and Stampin' Up made theirs replaceable. Why is that a benefit? Well, this is the spot on your paper trimmer that's going to be getting the most wear and rubbing besides your blades. So by making it replaceable, we're extending the life of our paper trimmer. You can also get replacement cutting and scoring blades, the other thing that may wear out on you, and everything else really should be good to go. Last you a very, very long time. The last feature I'm going to talk about before we use it, the fact that there's 2 different blades here. This darker one is for cutting the paper, and this lighter one is for scoring the paper. Some of you may not know what I mean by scoring. All scoring is, instead of using a cutting blade, it uses kind of a round ball of sorts, very small, that kind of presses into the paper. It's going to create a line, and it'll look indented from the side that's facing up, and when you flip the paper over, you'll see kind of a little bubble all along a line. You use that scoring feature to give you a nice, perfect spot to fold on. So we use that with our basic card making sizes, and we also used it with more advanced fancy cards. So I'm going to show you how all of this works. We're going to be making some standard A2 size cards with some craft cardstock. Now I'm working with the standard card making size paper. This is 8.5 by 11 letter sized paper. Well, it's cardstock, I'm sorry. Craft cardstock. So if you have only 12 by 12, the first thing you're going to want to do to make a card is cut it down to 8.5 by 11. But it is easier for card making to just order the 8.5 by 11 size to begin with. So there's 2 different orientations we can make our cards, and I'm going to show you both. So with this first piece, this is the 8.5 inch side, the longer side is the 11 inch. With this first one, let's go ahead and take the long 11 inch side. We're going to cut it in half. So that's going to be 5.5 inches. So how this works is you're going to take your paper, you're going to line up. There's this great little, what would you call this? Bumper, I suppose, here, and you push your paper gently all the way against that. What does that do? Well, it makes sure your paper's actually straight. Because if you just line it up down here, yes, we do have the lines here, and you can probably get it straight, but it's a little bit trickier. So we're going to take advantage of that awesome bumper. You're going to gently line your cardstock up there, and then at this 5.5 inch mark, we have a nice line all the way down. I can see everything is nice and straight and ready to go. So when you have your paper lined up, you flip this down. We are cutting, so we're going to use that dark blade, and we're going to pull it down. You're going to get a nice, clean slice. Look how easy that was. Can you imagine trying to do that with scissors? I can't. So now that we've cut this in half, we can make 2 cards out of this one sheet. Now we're going to turn this. This is that 8.5 inch side. We haven't cut that, so it's still 8.5 inches. We're going to score this in half. So that's going to be to 4.25. And when you're looking at the markings on your trimmer, the 1/4 inches and the 1/2 inches are the easiest to see. Okay, so same thing, line it up with the bumper, line it up with the 4 1/4 measurement, and now we're just gently going to take this lighter blade and slide it down along, okay? I don't know if I pushed that. Let me try one more time. I don't see my line. There it is. It's just hard to see with this light paper camera. Let me see if you can see it when I flip it over. Oh, that does not look like it's showing up on camera in my little viewfinder. I promise there's a line there. I can see it in person, and if you try this at home, you'll be able to see it too. I promise. So let's try this one more time. We're going to take this other half of that same piece of paper. This side is 8 1/2 inches right now. We're going to put it in at 4 1/4, and we're going to use the scoring blade, just the lighter one. Just apply light pressure and pull it down along, and we've got our nice little score line, which I'm afraid may be invisible to you. Now we're going to take our cards and make them the other direction, okay? So we'll cut these, and then I'll fold all of them and show you the difference, okay? So first thing I'm going to do, I'm going to pull both my blades up, because I just like to use my cutting blade from the top. It doesn't really matter, you can use it from the bottom, but that's how I do it. So this time we're going to take the 8 1/2 inch side. We're going to put it in at 4 1/4, and we're going to cut it there. Slide along. Lovely. Now we're going to turn it, and this time it'll be 5 1/2 for the score line. So basically we're using the same two spots, the 4 1/4 or the 5 1/2 marks, but we're kind of using them in the opposite way. Okay, same thing. Now we've got the 11 inch side, and we're going to score it in half at 5 1/2. See, I can come from the bottom with that too. It works just as well. Okay, so now I've got all of these cut and scored. I'm going to move the trimmer out of our way, and I'm going to show you this handy dandy bone folder. So the first two cards that we cut and scored are these here. So what we're going to do, I'm going to take the card. I wish this showed up better. Okay, this side, it's dented in. This is the side that was facing up when we scored. So the scoring ball pushed into the paper. When I flip it over, I can see that the paper is pushed up slightly. That's the side I want facing up. How I remember this is the peak becomes the valley. So we take the part of the paper that's sticking up and we smush it in. Okay, so this part's sticking up. Now I'm going to fold it, and because of that score line, look at that. I never would just be able to grab a piece of cardstock and do that without that score line. But see, it's still a little, not quite all the way, right? That's where the bone folder comes in handy. You take your bone folder, you just smoothly run along the edge, and you get that nice, crisp, fantastic crease with minimal garbling of your cardstock. You can do it with your fingers. I find that to be a little harder and not necessarily quite as smooth of a finish, but it is possible. However, I enjoy the bone folder and recommend it. So this is the other identical card, okay? These two cards, you can open them. I would say this is kind of the traditional way you see cards in the store a lot. The fold here is on the left-hand side. This is the way it's oriented. It opens like this. We can also have the card open from the bottom. Okay, it works either way. Now we're going to go ahead and fold our other size. You know, I guess they're not really a different size, they're just a different orientation, maybe would be a better word. So we're just going to slide that bone folder along there. Same thing, we can have them open, the fold on the left-hand side, or we can have them open from the bottom. So with just this simple lesson, you now know how to make some different folds of cards. All right, and just this basic knowledge will let you make cards for absolutely any occasions just by changing your papers and your stamps and your embellishments. So you're already well on your way. Thank you so very much for watching today.